We will start in just a couple minutes. The Senate will now come to order. The Pledge of Allegiance will now be led by Chief of Staff Tax, followed by a moment of silence and reflection.
If willing and able, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You can be seated, but please wait for a moment of silence. Okay.
The clerk will now call the roll. Please correct if the pronunciation of your name is incorrect.
Apple, Baber, Barnes, Barr, Bracy, Bryant, Calder, Cost, Creed, Darby, Durham, Galavati, Galt, Goldstein, Hamilton, Harvey, Heater, Hensley, Hurd, Howe, Kuhn, Kwame, Keen, La Pinta. Okay, thank you. Lapsley, Lazarenu, Lynn, Malachi, Miller, Montalto, Morgan, Nelson, Wynn, Peterson, Ravi, Robinson, Sane, Sellers, Badlamani, Vaught, Wenzel, Whitehead.
With the quorum being present, is there a motion to approve the Journal of September 13th, 2023 as found online? Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. We're now in line of general orders of the Senate, beginning with a very special guest, Resident Hall Association President Claire Haynes. You are recognized to give a report before the body.
Hello, friends. Like he mentioned, my name is Claire. I am the RHA president. This is my second term as president, so I'm coming back for another year. I am a senior English major here at Carolina, but in an effort to kind of do collaboration with student government and RHA, I have the opportunity to report to y'all at every Senate, and Speaker Cameron and President Emmy are able to come and speak to us every Senate that we have too. And so this is the first of many. We had one on Monday, and it was super successful. Our senators really loved it. But I'm kind of just going to go into a little introduction of what RHA is. So we have an 8-person exec board. I serve as president, and then everybody else kind of serves under. They also serve in their specific roles, kind of like the student government exec. We have 8 neighborhoods that sit over all of our residence halls. So there are groups of residence halls that we group based on location, but also kind of just general interest. And we have neighborhood boards that sit over there, and they serve the interests of those specific residence halls. The 3 major things that we do, if you have to explain RHA, is programming, advocacy, and then leadership development. We focus a lot on developing our leaders within the organization. Most of our neighborhood boards are freshmen because we have a first-year requirement on campus. So we really want to focus on getting those freshmen in and developing them into leaders that they can and use those skills in the rest of their college experience. We do have a Senate with a senator from each of our building, plus our neighborhood board president. We pass resolutions, recommendations, amendments, and bills kind of in the same way that y'all do. Our money comes from housing, the student activity fee, so we don't ask for student government from housing. We have our own fee that comes from housing because we're an ASO. We do have committees kind of similar to y'all. We have conference, constitutional, advocacy, and sustainability. Constitutionally, we are kind of rebooting our org. We had a lot of change last year, and we're going to use the things that we learned from that change to kind of make more changes that we think will be important to have in the future. We are green certifying every event that we have on campus this year, which is a new goal of ours. Kind of a hefty one, but we're excited to be able to say that we have sustainability in mind with all of our events. And then advocacy, we are leading campus-wide initiatives. They're kind of deciding what we want to do this semester. Over the summer, we moved in 9,000 residents, and we had a lot of positive feedback about that. The process in the past has not been as effective or efficient as it was this year, and so we were really excited that we were able to bring first-year residents onto campus in the way that we did. We also opened Campus Village with a ribbon cutting. I had the privilege of being able to speak at that ceremony. Super exciting. Kind of like I talked about, I'm here to do collaboration with student government. We are hoping to do joint resolutions, so we'll be able to pass resolutions in our body, but then also in y'all's. And we're able to have like a little joint thing that says student government and RHA pass this in the same manner. We're hoping that adds a little bit of an oomph to kind of what we're saying. The first one that we were looking at is doing Russell House expansion. If you have not heard, we are working on Russell House expansion. I had the privilege of traveling with Emmy to Chicago on the Russell House expansion committee in May. And so it is coming, hopefully, but I think we can hurry the process up if both of our buddies are able to pass something. We have a Senator Reyes from the historic neighborhood that's willing to sponsor. We would love a student government sponsor if you want to contact Cameron or me, and we can talk about what that looks like. If you have any ideas as a senator and you kind of want to talk to us, we would love to hear them. We want to utilize this new process and see kind of how it works. They can add leverage and power to the issues that both of our bodies are experiencing. You guys represent all of student body, we represent residents, but a lot of the issues are the same. We are hosting a conference, so we are hosting our regional SACUR conference on our campus, October 27th through the 29th. If you would love to volunteer, we would love to have you because it's going to be massive. We have about 400 students from other universities coming. It is Halloween weekend, but we're hoping to bring some of the spirit of USC into that. We have events popping up across campus. We have 9 in the next 2 weeks. So our exec event, which is campus-wide, is going to be on September 26th from 7 to 10 on Davis. We'll have a live band, some of the sign making. If you want to repost our stuff, that would be really cool. If you want to just come and bring friends, that would be awesome. We always have free stuff. We are currently working on a report to give to dining and getting a meeting time to go over the student experience pieces. We met with them before the school year started, but now that it has and things have kind of settled down, we do have some pretty tangible things that we want to go with them and kind of ask. For instance, the ice, we know it's a problem. The ice machines in Russell, it's a problem. So we want to talk to them about those sorts of things. We also do an operation renovation every year, or we started last year, but it is in the fall semester. We did it in October last year, but because we're hosting the conference, we're pushing it to November. What this looks like is 8 renovation projects across campus in each of the neighborhoods. If y'all have lived in a dorm and you think that there's something that we could do about an aspect of dorm life, please let us know. We're really looking for ideas. Our neighborhood board are going to spearhead these things, but we want y'all to have input into that. Last year, we got the South Tower ovens fixed. The Blatt Bridge was super drained up, and we kind of brought that to their attention, and they were able to see that the drains were actually blocked, and they could unblock them, and then that would be better. So those kinds of things. This year, we're looking to collaborate with housing and facilities on the forefront of that so that we aren't having to kind of go back and be like, this isn't feasible. But yeah, so RHA also sits on the Russell House Expansion Committee, kind of like what I talked about. The Russell House Advisory Board also talked about that. We have a representative. Sometimes it's me. Sometimes it's our Vice President, Will. Personally, I'm also part of the Mission Statement Task Force. So the Provost initiated a new mission statement, and so I was able to sit with Aubriana as the student voices on that task force. It is finished up, and it is being sent to the President and then VP Rex Tolliver to go up to the Board of Trustees for approval. But yeah, that's kind of all I have. If you have any questions for collaboration or any ideas for advocacy work, please let us know. We would love to work with you, hoping that this collaboration, like I said, adds some leverage to the student issues. But with that, I yield my time to questions.
The Residence Hall Association president yields her time to questions. Are there any questions for the president? Seeing none, thank you so much. I'm so excited about this new initiative, and I hope you guys are too. A lot of valuable information are shared between the two bodies, and I'm super excited to see what our two bodies can do together in the future. With that being said, we are now in line for reports from Senate leadership. Speaker Pro Tempore Hurd, you are recognized to give a report on the Rules Committee.
Hey y'all, good afternoon. I'll keep the update short, but Rules Committee, first of all, later today we're going to be voting on our delegation chairs, so we're really excited to get the start of our delegation system, which, as we've mentioned before, connects us directly to our students, our deans of our college or respective school, and makes sure that, you know, we're really in touch with the students we're supposed to be serving. So that will be voted on later today. In Rules Committee this past Sunday, we had two pieces of legislation submitted to Rules. One was a finance bill, and another was a quick amendment to our freshman council codes. You will see both of those on the first reading calendar today. Past that, we also received additional legislation that was sponsored unanimously by the Powers and Responsibilities Committee. It is my understanding that during our motion period today, there will be a motion to move those two pieces of legislation also onto the first reading calendar. I also wanted to talk about our attendance policy. We are currently working on getting our up-to-date attendance from committees and the Senate-wide sessions. So you should expect to see emails from me in the coming weeks. So that way, if you're inching closer, you know, it's not an angry email. I'm trying to work with you guys because part of my job in serving you is if you can't make a committee, you know, working with you to find how you can still serve the students in the way that you want to, even if there's some time conflicts that, you know, stand between you and that objective. In addition to that, we request that, you know, if you are missing a committee, just email or text your committee chair. At Rules, all of our committee chairs have said, you know, they're pretty lenient. They just want to hear from you guys and make sure you're still alive. And so we just ask for a quick message. If you are missing these Senate-wide sessions, obviously that doesn't apply to anyone here right now, but if you do in the future, email Courtney, let Cameron's or Speaker Eubanks' office know, and my understanding is they are also lenient in that regard too. We just need to hear from you guys and make sure you're still alive and willing to serve in your commitment as a senator. Finally, in our codes, it does say that if you go past your 3 unexcused absences from this full Senate session or your 2 unexcused absences from your committees, we are required to vote on your removal. We don't have discretion over that. So based on our current attendance that we have taken, there will be one motion today to remove a sitting senator, and we will hear about that later. But I just wanted to continue to urge you all to check the attendance roster and keep in touch with Senate. Finally, I just wanted to thank all of our senators working on projects and committees, although right now we might have some, you know, larger, bigger idea legislation coming before the body. We've got a lot of niche projects coming through that are serving individual colleges that I'm really excited for our students to get a hold of. And so I just wanted to thank all of you for putting in that work and doing the research and bringing that forward. Thank you. I yield to questions.
The Speaker Pro Tempore yields to questions. Are there any questions for the Speaker Pro Tempore? Seeing none, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We will now hear a report from the Academics Committee. Chairwoman Creed, you are recognized.
Hello, guys. I hope you guys are doing well. So the Academics Committee met Monday at 6 in the LSC as usual. This meeting, we reviewed and talked about the Senate retreat, what we went over, what we did, important stuff like Robert's Rules. We did review that as well. Also cleared up some confusion around how Senate's laid out, how it's structured. We talked about some ways to find what you're looking for in this Google Drive, because that can get confusing sometimes. We also went over a little bit about how to write some legislation, so we'll be writing some legislation soon. We were really excited to meet some of the freshman council members this past Senate retreat. We're really excited to have them and look forward to working with them over this upcoming term. And we are going to have Maddie Moore, our Deputy Secretary of Academics, meet with us our next meeting Monday to talk about her terms over the initiative, over her initiative over the next term. So with that, I yield to questions.
The chairwoman yields to questions. Are there any questions for the chairwoman? Senator Morgan.
6 p.m. in the LSC.
Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you so much. We will now hear a report from the Finance Committee. Chairman Kuhn, you are recognized.
Good evening, everyone. Finance met last Friday with our typical allocation, except this time I didn't write it. Hannah Durham wrote it, so I'm super proud of that effort she put forward and really took initiative on that. I can't wait to see all the other members of the committee do so. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to be present during the entirety of the Finance Committee meeting last week, but we definitely made a lot of progress, a lot of great allocations, and we spent all of our time very valuably. So you'll be seeing all of that in our typical legislation later. With that being said, it was really great being able to go to the Senate retreat on Sunday. A really valuable experience being able to talk to the FROCO, and we would really love to see some more activity from not just the Finance Committee members, but all senators really getting active within Senate, really take advantage of this opportunity. So with that being said, I yield to questions.
The chairman yields to questions. Are there any questions for the chairman? Seeing none, thank you so much. We'll now hear a report from the Health and Safety Committee. Chairwoman Ravi, you are recognized.
Hello, everyone. Sorry. So basically, same old in the Health and Safety Committee. We're working on those 4 main initiatives that we touched upon last session. Just to remind you guys, those initiatives include the menstrual product drive. So we are fundraising for a steady supply of menstrual products throughout this semester, and then hopefully carrying on to next semester. And then we're also working on our second initiative, which is our U101 transportation presentation initiative. We are hoping to collaborate with the Sustainability Committee with Chairwoman Heater, as well as the Office of Sustainability on Campus. And then our third initiative is regarding our dietary restrictions on campus and like how we can better inform our students as to what foods are safe for them to eat and what are not on campus, and make sure that information that's online or that's posted in dining halls is up to date with the food that we serve. And then our last initiative, we are pivoting to the flu shot drive. We are hoping to integrate the school flu shot drive with the School of Pharmacy. And right now, our main focus is to kind of try and get more social media outreach regarding the School of Pharmacy flu shot drive. So getting graphics on like the Instagram that we have and like all sorts of things like that, kind of advertising that the School of Pharmacy is doing a flu shot drive at school. So far, that's what's going on. And then we have some drafts for legislation also happening in our committee. And like Chairman Kuhn touched upon earlier, I just wanted to say that Sunday at the Senate retreat was a really great experience. I do wish there were more senators there. So I think what Cameron was speaking about during the retreat was very, very valuable. And to all of those who did show up, thank you. And I hope you guys took something away from that. And with that, I yield my time to questions.
The chairwoman yields to questions. Are there any questions for the chairwoman? Seeing none, thank you so much. We'll now hear a report from the Judiciary Committee. Chairman Bryant, you are recognized.
Good evening, everybody. So Judiciary, per usual, met this past Friday at 1 p.m. in the LSC. For that meeting, Judiciary passed SBL 11512, which you'll see tonight, unanimously with amendment. That will be further discussed by Senator Morgan when it takes the floor later today on the second reading calendar. I also just want to make sure that the Senate and everybody knows that Judiciary will be having its first confirmation hearing for a nominee for the Constitutional Council in the role of Associate Justice. It will be held Friday at 1 p.m. 22nd, which is our usual meeting time. But instead of the LSC, it'll be held at the law school in the KJW courtroom. So that's where we'll be having it. It's public, so please come if you're interested. That goes to all senators, executive, whoever it is, guests. We want to make sure that everyone, if they want to come, they can come. But with that, I will yield to questions.
The chairman yields to questions. Are there any questions for the chairman? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll now hear a report from the Powers and Responsibilities Committee. Chairwoman Baber, you are recognized.
everybody. Powers and responsibilities met Monday at 6 p.m. We usually meet Mondays at 7 p.m. I feel like every time I come up here, I say a different time. But we always are supposed to be meeting at 7 p.m. The committee interviewed the nominee for Deputy Secretary of IT and Infrastructure. We found them favorable, so welcome Brian Scheffler. We found one new member of the Student Senate favorable, so welcome Karthik Rangavajula. And Powers and Responsibilities had a great session where we were able to bring everybody's voices together, and we brainstormed gaps in the codes and constitution. So everyone's going to see that tonight. You're going to hear more of my voice during the motion period. I yield to questions.
The chairwoman yields to questions. Are there any questions for the chairwoman? Seeing none, thank you so much. We will now hear a report from the Student Life Committee. Chairwoman Malachi, you are recognized.
Hi everyone, happy Wednesday. So Student Life met Monday at 5:30. Our usual meeting time is actually Mondays at 6 p.m., although we met early to start conducting our interviews. We found Abigail Foster, Madeline Work, and Catherine Hanna all unanimously favorable. We'll talk about those later tonight when they're motioned through as well. Other than that, we talked about initiatives, things that we want to get started with. We're still talking about Ask a Senator. We'll be talking with the delegations chairs just to make it a wider thing, which you'll be hearing about as we keep going throughout the weeks. And with that, I yield my time to questions.
The chairwoman yields to questions. Are there any questions for the chairwoman? Seeing none, thank you. We will now hear a report from the Sustainability Committee. Chairwoman Heater, you are recognized.
Good evening. Good evening, everybody. Most importantly, the Sustainability Committee is changing our meeting times. They were previously on Tuesdays from 1 to 2 p.m., and now we are changing them to Fridays from 2:30 to 3:30 p.m. The reason for this being, for some of our new senators on newly vacant seats, we want to be more accessible for everybody's schedules, so we are making that change. If anyone wants to motion to join the Sustainability Committee during the motion period, I welcome you to do so. In our previous meeting this week, we discussed some of the Senate retreat topics. I personally am super excited about how Senate is working to be more visible on campus. So per that vision, we are looking to engage in sustainability tabling and campaign weeks. So hopefully partnering with VP of programming staff and FROCO, getting involved in Green Week and supporting Carolina Closet would be exciting. Another thing that Sustainability Committee is looking to do is address some student concerns we've heard that relate to sustainability. These include like a funny taste of the water in Strom, so water filtration issues potentially there. Some concerns about the logistics of recycling, and then just a lack of information about what can and cannot be recycled. So once we meet with the proper university officials, we're looking to write legislation that addresses those concerns. So to reiterate, our new meeting time is Fridays, 2:30 to 3:30 p.m. We will be starting this Friday, not for a super formal meeting, but just for like a check-in to get everyone there. We hope this helps Sustainability Committee be more accessible to all senators. I yield to questions.
The chairwoman yields to questions. Are there any questions for the chairwoman? Seeing none, thank you so much. We will now have a report from the Freshman Council. Are there any representatives from the Freshman Council present? Seeing none, they are coming, by the way. They just started, so that's awesome. Seeing none, we will now hear a report from the Constitutional Council. Chief Justice Buchmeier, you are recognized.
Good evening, everyone. As with most weeks, not much to report. I'm part of the Constitutional Council. I'm excited to hear that there's going to be some progress working towards filling some of the seats. It's getting a little lonely there. Besides that, again, we're always here and still in existence. With that, I yield to questions.
The Chief Justice yields to questions. Are there any questions for the Chief Justice? Seeing none, thank you. We will now hear a report from the Speaker of the Student Senate, Cameron Eubanks. Chief of Staff Courtney Tax, you are recognized.
Hey, y'all. So first and foremost, I really wanted to thank all the senators that came to the Senate retreat. A lot of work went into that, and we could really see how much it impacted you guys. We had some great discussion that came out of it. But we actually received really good feedback from FROCO. They loved the longest table and getting to meet you guys, so I'm hoping we have some slight interest in Senate. And we had some great ideas, again, come out of our discussion. One was partnering with Freshman Council, whether that be on a committee level or actually during Senate. And then the big one we also talked about was our next event, which has the potential date of October 10th to October 11th. It's a 2-day event, so make sure you have that marked in your calendar. But a confirmation is coming for that. That is going to be an expanded Ask a Senator. This event is going to be happening in your delegations. It's going to be across campus so that we make sure that you are reaching your constituents. So basically, business senators will be in Darla, nursing senators will be in the nursing building, et cetera, et cetera. But the big thing that I really wanted to say about this is in order for this to work and in order for us to get enough data to where we can help the students, we really, really need you guys to show up and we need you guys to participate. I mean, I'm going to need almost every person. Again, it is a 2-day event, so that means if half of your delegation can do one day and half can do the other, but I know that that can't fall on one person. One person can't run a table for both days. So make sure that you're not letting your delegation down and you're really helping out because we want to help your students and we want to make sure that we're listening to their concerns. Switching gears, we are super excited to welcome Hannah as our new legislative aide. I cannot emphasize this enough, but please, please utilize her. If you're confused about legislation or you have ideas for legislation but don't know how to go about starting to write it, please use Hannah. She's really, really good at what she's done. She's basically done this for 3 years now, so she knows what she's doing. And if you know any technical people, please send them my way. We're still looking for a legislative or assistant clerk. So if you know anybody that's really good at just can do the Senate Journal, send them my way. And kind of like what Ian was saying, committee attendance is available in the Senate master sheet. Every committee has a folder at the bottom. So the main screen is Senate attendance, and then the next slide is all delegations. So if you need to contact someone, almost everybody's number is in there. If it's not, please send me your number and I will add it there. And then again, every committee has a slide, and as soon as I get your minutes in, I try as soon as I can to put them in there, but it should be updated. And again, if you have been marked unexcused, please talk to your chairperson about that and have them email me, because if you haven't been marked excused or unexcused, but you've just been marked absent, it has been counted as an unexcused. And with that, I yield my time to questions.
And point of information, the 2-day event that we're looking to do on October 10th and 11th, thankful to the people that were at the retreat because we now have a new name for it. It's going to be called Food for Your Thoughts. We are going to be handing out different types of food to students as they come and they have discussions with each of you. And then that data will be stored in a digital database. Right now, we're working with the Department of Student Life to get access to more Carolina Card scanners to capture demographic data, but also to work on a digital platform where it can capture buzzwords. So we're ultimately, at the end of the event, we can come up with a word cloud and see what is the biggest concern on campus. I anticipate parking is going to be pretty big on there, but we'll see. You never know. But those ideas will help you guys legislate and help you guys serve your constituents to the best of your ability. So I cannot echo that enough. The attendance has got to be there for this to work. We are only a staff of 7, so we can only cover so many holes. And we're a little worried based off of the attendance of the Senate retreat. So, that being said, if you did not attend the Senate retreat and you did not fill out the RSVP form, and you weren't a vacant seat senator that just filled their seat, and you did not let us know why you did not attend, that is unacceptable. And we will be reaching out to you about that, because the information discussed at that retreat there's not enough time to repeat that information. So, again, if you are a vacant seat senator, that information will be presented to you in a separate time. But for others that have been elected throughout this entire term, you guys had the time to fill out the form, and you chose not to. So, that being said, we will be having meetings about that, because attendance is a really big issue. And also to point out on Speaker Pro Tem Poor Hurd's point, We will be looking at session and committee attendance going forward and doing a more critical dive of that. So over the next couple weeks, if you get any emails from the Speaker Pro Tempore, it is in the best interest to serve your constituents that you show up and you are present. So please do not take it as any type of hostility, but rather it is due diligence on our part to make sure that the Senate is representative of the whole.
And I just wanted to point out, and I wanted to thank our new senators as well. Numbers-wise, I don't know if the people who weren't there, we did have 14 people show up. Of the 14, 4 were newly elected senators. They did not need to be there. They chose to be there. So we want to thank you guys. We can really see how much you want to get back to the student body, and we can't wait to get started with you guys.
With that, the Chief of Staff still yields to questions. Are there any questions for the Chief of Staff? Senator Miller.
And that's where our staff will kind of come into play. We're also going to be reaching out to other branches in student government to find people in your delegation as well. So we understand that there are smaller ones. I know nursing has 2, public health has 4. There are some very small delegations. So that is where we're going to fill the gaps. But when it comes to your larger delegations, if we're focused on the smaller ones, we're not going to be able to cover people for the larger ones that do have 8, 11, 7 senators.
Any other questions? All right, seeing none, thank you so much. We are now in line for a report from the Student Body Treasurer. Treasurer Augsbach Lama, you are recognized.
Hi everyone. So I just wanted to put out a quick reminder that at this week's Finance Committee at 3:30 on Friday, we will be talking about how we're going to look at codes for finance in the future. So if you have any interest in that, please definitely show up. I think it will be a really good conversation. Additionally, we will have our next Treasurers Workshop on October 6th at 2:30. Student orgs who haven't attended will be notified, but just in case you get any questions. And finally, I just wanted to clear up some confusion that I've heard for a while now. I am no longer going abroad. I dropped that major, so just for clarification, I will be here through the spring. That is no longer an issue. I just wanted to wait till everything was official to announce it, but now everything is set. And so, yeah, other than that, I yield to questions.
The Treasurer yields to questions. Chairman Kuhn.
Thank you, Patrick.
And point of information, if you have any questions about that, please ask Chairman Kuhn, as we had to schedule some of our dialogues before 5 o'clock. So if you would like to come and discuss what the future of finance looks like in our organization, please do. All 4 execs should be there, plus all of Finance Committee, so it really should be a great discussion. Any other questions for the Treasurer? Seeing none, thank you so much. We are now in line for a report from the Student Body Vice President. Is there a person from the Vice President's branch? You are recognized.
Hi everyone, I'm Charleston McDonald, Aubriana's Deputy Chief of Staff. She apologizes for not being here. She's at the self-defense workshop and it's happening at the same time, but she'll be back here next week. Please fill out the form that Bryn sent in the group me regarding the Inside 1801 podcast and revamping it. They're asking for ideas and things like that. If you have not signed up to be a mentor, please do. This will be a crucial part of the freshman council member experience, and they're a great group this year. Tomorrow is the last event of Safety Week, the What's My Name virtual presentation about rideshare safety. If you don't know about the history of this, Sammy Josephson was a USC student when she was kidnapped and murdered by a fake Uber driver. Her family started this foundation to educate others about rideshare safety, and her dad is the one giving the presentation, so please join and be engaged to show our support. The video promoting the portable chargers that we had put into the student section is going up on Friday, so everyone needs to repost it. It will only be effective if the students are aware of it. And then lastly, the break shuttles for fall, Thanksgiving, and spring to Columbia Airport have been scheduled, and student government's role in this is to collect student reservations. We will be updating the website and posting about it soon, but just so you guys know if anyone asks you about that. And with that, I yield to questions.
The Deputy Chief of Staff yields to questions. Are there any questions for the Deputy Chief of Staff? Seeing none, thank you. We are now in line for a report from the Student Body President. President Thompson, you are recognized.
Hey everybody. Oh, okay, sorry about this. We're gonna get it back in there. So fancy. Okay, well I hope everybody had fun in Athens, those of y'all that went to the game and y'all aren't too stressed with exams this week. I hope y'all enjoyed having Claire here tonight. I was able to give the first update at RHA Senate on Monday, so that was really cool. I think it's gonna be a great collaboration for us this year. We had a successful voter registration drive yesterday, thanks to our Elections Commission team and all the volunteers, so thank you to everybody who came out for that. Yesterday was also President Michael Amaritas' first State of the University address, which was a really special event, and he specifically shouted out student government and expressed his gratitude for us to voicing our concerns and advocating for the student experience. So he wants to continue to hear what we're concerned about and how we want to improve campus. Like Charles Ann said, the phone chargers promotion video and tutorial will be out this Friday, so please share, repost, and encourage your friends to take advantage of that resource. It'll be officially hard launching at this Saturday's game. There's a machine in the student section of the stadium, and there's also one outside of Russell House. So you can either return it in the stadium or at Russell House, and you can also check them out at Russell House. The Vice Provost is having a focus group on course evaluation responses this Friday at 2:30. So if you're interested in that, please text me. I met with Kim McMahon and Deasia White this week to begin plans for reconvening the Russell House Expansion Committee. That group is most likely going to meet in person at 8:30 on Mondays and will be made up of representatives from campus groups who will be tasked with creating a report. This year's primary items in the report will be looking into a plan for how we can shift activity during construction and then looking at different fee models. I also met with student ticketing this week, so Frank Terrapin and then Joe Sasso, who's about to take over Frank's position of student ticketing. We went over just kind of first week hiccups with student ticket requests. They're going to work on better communicating to students that it does not matter when you request your ticket in that duration, as long as you request with a deadline and it's all points based. So hopefully that will alleviate some of the congestion we see right at the beginning. And if any students are facing issues, please encourage them to contact the help email listed on the email they receive from Gamecock Ticketing. They're pretty quick with turnaround if you email that response, and they'll make sure that they get it settled, but you have to email them before the deadline. I also have a meeting scheduled next week with the interim CIO to discuss the distribution of funds relating to network and Wi-Fi improvements. I also have a meeting with the community shop to discuss several initiatives, one being discounted parking passes for students in need, and then the Greek Life Donation and Recycling Shop that I've previously discussed with y'all. We had Board of Trustees on Friday, so next week I'm going to be showing y'all some of the infrastructural updates that came from that meeting and discuss the RFPs that got approved. I'm also very excited to be putting up my first nomination for Associate Justice tonight, and I'm looking forward to the Judiciary Committee getting to know him. And with that, I will yield my time to questions.
The Student Body President yields to questions. Are there any questions for the President? Seeing none, thank you so much. We are now in line for special orders of the Senate. Are there any letters, petitions, appointments, applications, or other? The clerk will now read.
A communication from the Office of the Speaker of the Student Senate requesting a 1-week extension for the following positions. Assistant Clerk.
The question is of a 1-week extension on the appointment of Assistant Clerk. All in favor say aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The extension is granted. Continuing on, the clerk will read.
A communication from the Office of the Speaker of the Student Senate concerning the appointment of Hannah Watts to the position of Legislative Aide.
Received. Continuing on with special orders of the Senate, the clerk will read.
A communication from the Office of the Speaker of the Student Senate concerning the resignation of Duke Kennedy and Luke Phillips from the position of Student Senator. The communication can be found online.
Received. Continuing on, the clerk will read.
A communication from the Office of the Speaker of the Student Senate concerning the violation of the Senate attendance policy by the following Senator, David Nelson.
According to Section 2230A and B of the Student Government Codes, if a senator occurs more than 3 unexcused absences, the Student Senate must vote on their removal during the motion period of the Senate session following the 4th absence. The removal of a senator on the basis of an inordinate absences shall require a 2/3 vote of the present voting senators. If there is a motion to call for the removal of the senator who violated the attendance policy. I will recognize and entertain the motion during the motion period. Continuing on with special orders of the Senate, the clerk will read.
A communication from the Office of the Student Body President concerning the resignation of Juliana Arias Rivera from the position of Deputy Secretary of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. This communication can be found online.
Received. Continuing on with special orders of the Senate, the clerk will read.
A communication from the Office of the Student Body President concerning the nomination of Talia Adkins to the position of Deputy Secretary of Inclusion and Equity.
The nominee is referred to the Inclusion and Equity Committee. Continuing on with special orders of the Senate, the clerk will read.
A communication from the Office of the Student Body President concerning the formal interview of Bakari Jackson for the position of Associate Justice within the Constitutional Council. This interview took place Wednesday, September 20th at 3:45 p.m. in the Leadership and Service Center.
Received. Continuing on, the clerk will read.
A communication from the Office of Student Body President concerning the nomination of Bakari Jackson to the role of Associate Justice within the Constitutional Council.
The nominee is referred to the Judiciary Committee. Continuing on, the clerk will read.
A communication from the Office of the Student Body President concerning the nomination of University Committee members. These names and placements can be found within the communication via the shared link.
The question is of approval of the nominees assigned to the different university committees. All in favor say aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The nominees are approved. Continuing on, the clerk will read.
A communication from the Office of the Student Body President requesting a 1-week extension for the following position. Elections Commission member.
The question is of a 1-week extension on the appointment of Elections Commission's member. All in favor say aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The extension is granted. Continuing on, the clerk will read.
Application of Lakika Cassetti, Taylor Moore, Alyssa Taylor, Abby Speitler, and Ellie Tanner to be seated in the 115th Student Senate.
These applications are referred to the Powers and Responsibilities Committee. Continuing on with special orders, the clerk will read.
A communication from the Speaker pro tempore concerning the nomination of the following delegation chairpersons. College of Arts and Sciences, Senator Whitehead. Darla Moore, School of Business, Senator Keene. Arnold School of Public Health, Senator LaPinta. College of Engineering and Computing, Senator Wenzel. College of Education, Senator Apple. College of Social Work, Senator Lapsley. College of Nursing, Senator Hamilton. College of Hospitality and Sports Management, Senator Montalto. College of Pharmacy, Senator Miller. School of Journalism and Mass Communications, Senator Harvey. School of Law, Senator Galt. And School of Music, Senator Howe.
The question is of approval of delegation chairpersons. All in favor, please say aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The nominees are approved. Continuing on with special orders of the Senate, their clerk will read. Seeing no more special orders of the Senate, we are now in the motion period. Is there a motion to take a 3-minute recess to correct an issue in the Google Drive? Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. We are now in a 3-minute recess. Just an issue. Yep. All right, it's about to get really confusing. Calling the Senate back to order. Are there any motions about nominations? Chairwoman Ravi. There's been a motion to confirm the appointed Senate nominees. All in favor say aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The nominees are confirmed. Chairwoman Ravi. Are there any other motions for nominations first? Chairwoman Weber. There's been a motion to appoint the vacant seat senator to the 115th Student Senate. All in favor say aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The nomination is confirmed. The nominee. Chairwoman Weber. There's been a motion to appoint the nominee to the Deputy Secretary of IT and Infrastructure. All in favor say aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The nominee is confirmed. Chairwoman Malachi. There's been a motion to confirm the nominee to Deputy Secretary of Greek Relations. All in favor say aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The nominee is confirmed. Chairwoman Malachi. There's been a motion to confirm the nominee to Deputy Secretary of Community Relations. All in favor say aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The nominee is confirmed. Chairwoman Malachi. There's been a motion to confirm the nominee to the Co-Communications Director position. All in favor say aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The nominee is confirmed. Any other motions about nominees on the floor? Is there a motion to suspend the rules to allow these new nominees to take their oath of office? Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. All the nominees and new staff member, you may come down to take your oath of office. Chief Justice Buchmeier, you are recognized to administer the oath.
Solemnly pledge to faithfully execute the office of your office, to abide by the student government constitution and codes, to uphold the Carolinian Creed, and to represent my constituents to the best of my ability. Congratulations.
And the new vacant seat senator, you may take a place amongst the body. Congratulations to all the nominees and the newly confirmed staff member. Are there any other motions on the floor? Speaker Pro Tempore Hurd.
I move to suspend the rules and allow for the discussion and immediate vote on SBL 11512 with the second reading uncontested calendar and then immediately return to the regular order.
There's been a motion to suspend the rules to allow SBL 11512 to move from the second uncontested calendar to being discussed and voted on in the present time. Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. Senator Morgan, you are recognized to speak on the legislation. Important information, just a reminder, the legislation can be found in the Introduced Legislation folder within the Google Drive, and it is labeled SBL 11512.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Folks, again, glad to be up here. presenting this on the second reading. Pretty much this bill, like I said, like last week, would cut the transition period and make less of a lame duck session following an election before the inauguration. I yield to questions.
Senator Morgan yields to questions. Are there any questions for Senator Morgan? Chairman Bryant.
I have a motion tonight.
Go ahead.
I move to amend this bill with Amendment SBL 115-12 number 1. Unanimously supported by the Judiciary.
There's been a motion to add Amendment 1 to SBL 115-12. Do the sponsors of the bill find this amendment friendly or unfriendly?
Friendly, yes.
The sponsors of SBL 115-12 find the amendment friendly, and amendment number 1 is adopted. Continuing on, are there any more questions for Senator Morgan? Seeing none, thank you so much. Are there any other senators wishing to speak on the bill? Seeing no more speakers or questions, we will now move to a vote on the legislation. Since it is in the uncontested calendar, this will be a voice vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The legislation is adopted. Are there any other motions on the floor? Senator Lapsley. There's been a motion to add Senator Lapsley to the Judiciary Committee. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. You're added to the committee. Any other motions? Senator La Pinta. There's been a motion to add the senator to the Sustainability Committee. Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. Senator Cost. There's been a motion to move Senator Cost to the Finance Committee. Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. Chairwoman Ravi. There's been a motion to remove Chairwoman Ravi from the Academics Committee. Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. Senator Sellers? There's been a motion to remove Senator Sellers from the Inclusion and Equity Committee. Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. Senator Calder. There's been a motion to move Senator Calder to the Judiciary Committee. Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. Senator Hamilton. There's been a motion to add Senator Hamilton to the Sustainability Committee. Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. Senator La Pinta. There's been a motion to remove the senator from the Inclusion and Equity Committee. Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. Senator Howe. There's been a motion to move the senator to the Sustainability Committee, or add, excuse me. Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. Senator Howe. There's been a motion to remove the senator from the Inclusion and Equity Committee. Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. Chairwoman Baber. There's been a motion to move both of those pieces of legislation to the first reading calendar. Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. Senator Howe. There's been a motion to remove the senator from the Academics Committee. Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. Any other motions on the floor? A point of information, this is the time where you can add and remove yourself from committees if you haven't done so already. Senator Nelson. There's been a motion to remove the senator from Sustainability. Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. Any other motions on the floor? Speaker Pro Tempore Hurd.
As required
There's been a motion to remove Senator Nelson from the 115th Student Senate. We will now enter a period of debate on the motion. Is there any senator wishing to speak on the motion? Senator Nelson, you are recognized.
I just wanted to say that I want to continue serving.
If you could please speak directly into the microphone. Thank you so much.
Sorry, y'all. I do want to continue serving in Senate and student government moving forward. I do recognize my attendance is required. I would like to improve that moving forward. That's all I had to say. I yield to questions.
The senator yields to questions. Are there any questions for Senator Nelson? Seeing none, thank you. Is there any other senator wishing to speak on the motion? Speaker Pro Tempore Hurd, you are recognized.
Good evening. I just wanted to clarify, first of all, I'm not speaking in my personal capacity as a senator. It is my job as Speaker Pro Tempore to represent the office of the Speaker when these motions do occur. So I will provide to the Senate, the information of why this motion was made. So we are required to not exceed 3 unexcused absences per term from regularly scheduled Senate sessions and 2 unexcused absences per term for every regularly scheduled meeting for a committee that a senator is a part of. Senator Nelson was notified, and it's displayed on our attendance tracking sheet, that he currently has 4 unexcused absences from Senate-wide sessions out of the 3 allowed, and he has 4 unexcused committee absences out of the 2 allowed. He is 3 unexcused absences over the limit cumulatively. And so as the Speaker Pro Tempore, my recommendation is to vote in the affirmative for the removal of this senator, solely because there are applicants waiting to fill Senate seats who have pledged to attend. And I just want to reemphasize that with an unexcused absence, that means that there were 8 instances where Senator Nelson did not communicate with his chairperson or the chief of staff going back to April to as recent as this past month. And so because of that, that is why this motion was made as required by the codes. Thank you. I yield to questions.
The Speaker Pro Tempore yields to questions. Are there any questions for the Speaker Pro Tempore? Chairwoman Heater.
Is there a way to wait to see if Senator Nelson does change his attendance in the next sessions and bring up this motion in the event that that does not occur?
So thank you, Chairwoman Heater. That is a good question. Unfortunately, the codes require us to vote today on the removal of Senator Nelson, and the issue is that if the Senate does choose today to allow him to remain in his seat, it essentially will exempt him from the attendance policy in the future. Because once we choose not to enforce our attendance policy on a senator, it's clear that once a senator exceeds that threshold, there's a vote, but after that, it's unclear what happens. I will say that I have worked with Senator Nelson, and I've recommended both in the Treasurer's office and the President's office that we find alternative means for him to remain active in student government, both in finance and sustainability in the way that he is passionate about. I am not advocating in dismissing anyone's voices. I just believe that as a Senate body, it is my job to represent the standards that we have set in our codes, and we represent 35,000 students who, did not have a voice for 8 meetings. Thank you. I yield to additional questions.
The Speaker Pro Tempore still yields to questions. Are there any questions for the Speaker Pro Tempore? Chairwoman Ravi.
That would have to be a point of information from the Speaker's office. I do not have that information.
Point of information, no contact was made to our Chief of Staff. Chairman Kuhn. Senator Morgan. Are you asking the Speaker Pro Tempore that question? Through a point of information, that was not one time that contact was made through the excused absence form on Garnegate of his unexcused absences. Any other questions for the Speaker Pro Tempore? Senator Gavrilla, excuse me, Senator, you're recognized.
Well, his removal would increase our vacancies by 1. And yes, there are currently applicants who are being interviewed for vacant Senate seats.
And point of information, there are currently 8 vacancies as well. Any other questions for the Speaker Pro Tempore? Senator Lapsley. Granted. Vice Chairman Hensley. Any other questions for the Speaker Pro Tempore? Chairwoman Heater.
Was your wording earlier in response to my first question, were you saying that if we were to
I'm sorry, can you repeat the first question? Yeah, you're fine.
my first question, I was wondering a clarification. If we were to vote to keep him here, would we be able to re-vote later to remove him from Senate if he continues to violate absence, or would he be exempted throughout the rest of his term?
There would not be a required motion. So unless you personally decided to make that motion to remove him, no, that would not occur unless, in the codes, currently we are following the process to be above that threshold. But past that point, it's unclear if it would be impeachment or if a motion for removal is still entertained.
Any other questions? Chairwoman Malachi.
I'm going to be honest, I don't know the answer to that question. So there is an impeachment process for senators, right? But the codes allow for a motion for removal in the instance immediately after these absences have occurred. So I am not sure if past that point that motion is still entertained or if it is out of order. And then the only way for removal would be to file articles of impeachment, go to the Judiciary Committee, hold a trial before the Senate, and engage in all those steps.
Any other questions for the Speaker Pro Tempore? Chairwoman Ravi.
Have you had a conversation with Senator Nelson about how he's going to rectify or be more consistent with coming to Senate? Have you talked to you about that? And if so, what was
So I also don't want to speak on behalf of Senator Nelson, so after I'm done with this, he is also welcome to come up here and respond to that question. But I spoke with him earlier today, and I explained that my intention in doing this is not malicious. I represent our codes and standards that we have. That's my job as your senator, your Speaker Pro Tempore. But, with that being said, it is also our job that when people can't fulfill the time commitments that are strict and our students are counting on us to fulfill, that, we find alternative options for people to provide input and their voice. So the President's office has confirmed that there are vacancies on the Sustainability Committee in the executive branch. And so there are opportunities to have your voice heard in student government that don't take up a seat where we have 20 applicants waiting, eager to drop classes, rearrange their schedules, and have the communication that was lacked. Thank you.
Any other questions for the Speaker Pro Tempore? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Is there any other senator wishing to speak on the motion? Senator Nelson, you are recognized.
answer your question of asking how
If you could just speak a little bit louder into the microphone for the live stream, thank you.
to answer your question about how I'm going to improve my attendance, I recently removed myself from sustainability, knowing that their meetings are on Friday when I have to work. So I do work jobs aside of being in Senate and part of other clubs, and I know my ability, so I know I could handle the timeliness and attendance of being here. So just moving forward, I move my committee times and I move my work schedule so I can be here and attend and participate. So I yield the questions.
The senator yields to questions. Are there any questions for Senator Nelson? Chairwoman Ravi.
Well, just for starters, this is my first year being in Senate, and I know it's my responsibility to read guidelines and rules. But honestly, just being, I guess the word, be just not knowing really about how to reach out for my attendance. So I do apologize for that. Any other questions?
The senator yields to questions. Are there any more questions for Senator Nelson? Chairwoman Heater.
Not available, but at the time that it was from 2 to 3, I know I get off of work at 3, around 3:30, so I can make the finance ones, or try to at least. So moving forward, I yield the questions. But also, I don't just work on Friday, so I do work on Tuesdays as well. Thank you.
Any other questions for the senator? Seeing none, thank you. Are there any other senators wishing to speak on the motion? Chairman Bryant, you are. There's been a motion to move to the previous question, or excuse me, to the call of question of the vote of the removal of Senator Nelson due to the violation of the absence policy. Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. We will now move to a vote on the removal. This shall be a roll call vote. All in favor of the removal, say aye. All opposed to the removal, say nay. All in favor of the removal, say aye. All opposed to the removal, say nay. The clerk will now call the roll.
Apple. Baber. Barnes. Barr. Bracy. Bryant. Calder. Cost. Creed. Darby. Durham. Galavati. Galt. Goldstein. Hamilton. Harvey. Heater. Hensley. Hurd. Howe. Kuhn. Kwame. Keen. LaPinta. Lapsley. Lazarenu. Lynn. Malachi. Miller. Montalto. Morgan. Nelson. Wynn. Peterson. Rangavajula. Ravi. Robinson. Sane. Sellers. Badlamani. Vaught. Wenzel. Whitehead.
Have all senators answered the call? The polls are now closed. The clerk will tabulate. Is there a motion for a 2-minute recess for the tabulation of the votes? Without objection, so ordered. We're now in a 2-minute recess. Seeing as the discussion period of the motion and the voting has already passed, we have moved on from the failed motion. Any other motions on the floor? Senator. There's been a motion to add the senator to the Sustainability Committee. Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. Senator Nelson. There's been a motion to add Senator Nelson to the Student Life Committee. Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. Any other motions on the floor? Seeing none, we are now in the call of the introduction of new legislation. The clerk will now read.
SBL 11513, introduced by Senator Hamilton, a bill to amend the codes relating to freshman council, interview announcements.
Senator Hamilton, you are recognized to speak on the legislation.
Okay, hi everybody. If you don't know me, I'm Senator Hamilton. I represent the College of Nursing. Ever have any questions about that, please reach out to me. This is a really simple piece of legislation. Basically, I just spoke with one of our Fro co-directors, Ia Cole, and currently it's codified. For people who aren't familiar with the process, you submit like a written application, and then there's some applicants that are selected for an interview, and then after the interview process, there are applicants selected to like serve on FroCo. And for some reason right now in our codes, we have it that when the interview announcement comes out, we need to like physically post a piece of paper in the LSC, like announcing the people who got the interviews. And there was just a little bit of miscommunication, and there were some students who thought that they had been accepted into freshman council when they had just been chosen for the interview process. And then some students were not selected for freshman council, and it just made things a little bit tricky. So basically, all of this bill is doing is just striking that entire point so that all we need to do is email the interview selectments instead. With that, I yield my time to questions.
Senator Hamilton yields to questions. Are there any questions for the senator? Seeing none, thank you. The legislation is referred to the Judiciary Committee. Continuing on with the call of introduction for new legislation, the clerk will now read.
SBL 11514, introduced by Senator Durham, a recommendation to permit the Senate Finance Committee to allocate funds to student organizations.
Chairman Kuhn, you are recognized to speak on the legislation. Chairwoman Malachi? Granted.
All right.
Whenever you're ready.
Okay, awesome. So this is just a typical finance legislation for each week. This week it was written by Hannah Durham, Senator Durham, and I was very proud of this. This is our first piece of legislation, so I was super pleased. We allocated $15,379.27. So we're chugging along in Finance Committee. I yield to questions.
The chairman yields to questions. Are there any questions for the chairman? Seeing none, thank you so much. Is there a motion to pass by acclamation? There's been a motion to pass by acclamation. Is there a second? All in favor say aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. The legislation is adopted. Continuing on with the call of introduction for new legislation, the clerk will now read.
SBL 11515, introduced by the Powers and Responsibilities Committee and Chairman Bryant, a bill to codify additional appointment procedures.
Chairwoman Baber and Chairman Bryant, you are recognized to speak on this legislation. Chairman Kuhn. Granted. Chairman Kuhn. Granted.
Good evening, everybody. If you haven't seen this bill, you can pull it up on the Google Drive and everything like that. So this is a joint bill that was written unanimously by the Powers and Responsibilities Committee, and then I was also brought in to add as another sponsor. And so essentially what this bill would do is it's going to add a couple other provisions for the appointment process. And essentially what it's going to do is, so there was like a gap to where it's like someone could basically act in a role without being confirmed by the body. And so just moving forward, we just want to make sure that, we these stopgaps, and we address those things when we see them, and just looking proactively, not looking in the past, and just seeing what we can do to move forward. Do you have anything to add from Powers?
The chair people yield to questions. Are there any questions for the chair people? Seeing none, thank you so much.
Thank you all.
The legislation is referred to the Judiciary Committee. Continuing on with the call of introduction for new legislation, the clerk will now read.
SBL 11516, introduced by the Powers and Responsibilities Committee and Chairman Bryant, a bill to require executives to intend to serve the entirety of their terms.
Chairman Baber and Chairman Bryant, you're recognized to speak on the legislation.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So this bill also came up in the same brainstorming session the other day with Power Responsibilities, and then they brought me in, that's why I'm here. And so essentially what this is going to do is that this is just going to codify that for our executive candidates, that they have to certify that they will be here to serve the entire term, physically present and enrolled at our Columbia campus, and just ensuring that we're making sure that there's due diligence for our student body, and making sure that that's a precondition before they can even get onto the ballot.
Do you yield to questions?
I do yield to questions, unless Senator Baber. We yield to questions.
The chair people yield to questions. Are there any questions for the chairpersons? Seeing none, thank you so much.
Thank you
The
all.
legislation is referred to the Judiciary Committee. Continuing on with the call of the introduction of new legislation, the clerk will now read. Hearing none, we're now in the call of the uncontested calendar. The clerk will now read. Hearing none, we are now in the call of the contested calendar. The clerk will now read. Hearing none, we are now in line for a period of open discussion. Does any senator wish to bring a matter of attention to the body? Seeing none and hearing none, we are now in line for a period of announcements. Are there any announcements from the floor? Chairwoman Robbie, you are recognized.
Another week, another shameless plug for my favorite extracurricular activity outside of school, which is the writing therapy group I run at Prisma Baptist and Prisma Richland Springs. So some super exciting news. We have some new spots that have opened up at Richland Springs. And so for any student, regardless of whatever field you're in, if you're interested in working with psychiatric patients, those with depression and anxiety specifically, please let me know. And if also like a really avid writer, also let me know. We would love to have you as part of the group. The commitment's pretty low. It's only like 2 hours a week, an hour per each session. And yeah, if you know anybody that's interested, also you will get clinical hours for those who are interested in getting clinical hours. Yeah, with that, I yield to questions.
The chairwoman yields to questions. Are there any questions for the chairwoman? Seeing none, thank you so much. Are there any other announcements on the floor? Seeing no other announcements, as always, I have an announcement. I wanted to welcome the vacant Senate seat senators to their first full-length session. We're so, again, excited and glad that you are here. They did complete a lot of their training this week, so we're super excited to have them in the body and to serve alongside you guys. We also wanted to congratulate, and we're so excited about the nomination of our delegation chairpersons. Those delegation chairpersons, we will be reaching out to you within the next week or so to set up a meeting just to touch base, and for my director of senatorial outreach to kind of talk about the plans for our Food for Your Thoughts initiative coming up in October. So be on the lookout for that, and Speaker Pro Tempore Hurd will also kind of be going over the expectations of each chairperson within your delegation. Also, people in your delegations, be looking out for a message from your delegation chairperson for the next week and a half to 2 weeks about your first delegation meeting and what your role in this new initiative is going to look like. I also wanted to thank everyone that came to the Senate retreat on Sunday. We've got amazing feedback from Freshman Council about our longest table activity. They really enjoyed meeting all of you guys, and I know they really appreciated you guys being the first face of student government that they saw. It also was a little bit rainy out, but we were able still to do the field day inside, and I hope you guys had fun with the popsicles. I know I did. Overall, I think it was a really, really great time. And the retreat itself, we talked a lot about the information regarding Robert's rules, regarding plans that committees have to write legislation. We also talked about how my office fits into the strategic plan and our initiatives and things that we're working on moving forward. And so again, I cannot thank the people that were attended and that were there, and the people that filled out the RSVP form enough, because we were able to get a pretty good group there, and so a really good discussion and some feedback on our office's initiatives. I would like lastly to give a comment based on the motion for removal. That is a codified procedure, so you guys did exactly what you were supposed to do. You asked very thoughtful and insightful questions, and for that, I cannot thank you enough. Again, you were active senators, and you really, really voted to where your heart was. So again, I cannot thank you enough for being active during that discussion. And to the vacant seat senators, since that was like your first roll call vote, I cannot thank you enough for being active in the discussion as well. But if there are any questions or concerns about that whole process or the motion to removal or anything like that, please ask myself or Courtney, and we can talk to you about the specifics of what went into that motion and everything else. I will say, again, attendance is very, very important. All of you were elected to serve your constituents. You can't serve your constituents if you're not in here. Let me say that again. You cannot serve your constituents if you're not here. That also goes to committees as well. There's been a number of people that we haven't really seen at committee meetings, and the chairpersons really don't know where you are. So it's very, very important over the next rest of the term, honestly, that you are active senators and you are respecting the people that put you into office. That is our job, that is our forefront mission in this body, is to represent your constituents and not yourselves. So please make every effort to be here. Like I said, my staff and I, we are pretty lenient on excused absences, still within the guidelines of the codes. So if you fill out the form on Garnet Gate and you let Courtney know within a reasonable time before session, we will excuse the absence, barring the proof that you fill out in the form. If you do not reach out, that is where we have to count it as unexcused. And that's not hostile, that's nothing against you as a senator or a person. It is just simply we're following our positions as outlined in the codes. And that goes with your chairpersons as well. If you do not reach out to them about not coming to the meeting, they're gonna count you as unexcused. And that's just the reality of the situation. So please hold yourselves accountable and be here and be present in your committee meetings and in session. That is all we ask of you, and that's all of your constituents ask of you. Especially with our new initiative coming up in the next couple weeks, attendance is critical and mandatory. So, with that being said, we are going to make sure the drive is updated tonight based on the switching and switcheroo of all the committees. So be a little bit patient with us on that. We're gonna get you an updated list. Chairpersons, we're also gonna get you an updated list. Be on the lookout for a post and an email, which will talk about all the legislation that was referred to each committee and who is in what committee. The group me links will also be, and have always been, in the post and an email. So the excuse of you not being in the group me is no longer valid, because you have the link at your disposal. So again, that does not count towards, oh, I didn't know about the meeting because I was in the group me. Well, we're giving you the links. So do that with what you, I don't know what I was about to say. Just use that to the best of your ability, please. All right, are there any other questions or announcements on the floor? Seeing none, with no further announcements, is there a motion to adjourn? Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. The Senate will now stand adjourned until Wednesday, September 27th, 2023.